I'll read verse 1, you read verse 2. Let's go now, friends. Set. And Abraham went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him into the south. Verse 2.
Abraham was very rich in cattle, in silver and gold.
That was what he collected as dowry for his wife. And he went on his journey from the south even to Bethel. Remember I told you that he went back to the south, even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai. Verse 4.
Unto the place of the altar, which he had made there at first, and there Abraham called the name of the Lord.
And Lot also, which went with him, with Abraham, had flocks and herds and tents. Verse 6.
And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together.
And there was a strife between the headmen of Abraham's cattle and the headmen of Lot's cattle. And the Canaanites and the Perizzites dwell then in the land. Verse 8.
And Abraham said unto Lot, let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my headmen and thy headmen, for we be brethren.
Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left. Verse 10.
And Lot lifted up his eyes, and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest unto Zoar.
The Lord chose him all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves at the one from the other. Verse 12.
Abraham dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain, and each turned towards Sodom.
But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. 14.
And the Lord said unto Abraham, after the Lord was separated from thee, lift up now thy eyes, and look from the place where thou art northward, and southward, and eastward, and westward.
For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever. Verse 16.
And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also number.
Arise, walk through the land, in the length of it, and in the breadth of it, for I will give it unto thee. Let's take 18 together. 1, 2, 18. 1, 2, let's go. Then
Abraham removed his tent, and came and dwelt in the plain of Mamre, which is in the Hebron, and built there an altar unto the Lord.
Can you see that Abraham was a man of the altar? The first time God spoke to him, he built an altar and gave sacrifice. The second time God showed him the place, what did he do again? He built an altar to offer sacrifice. Let giving be your attitude. I don't want to go back to it. I've taught on it last week. Make giving your attitude. Every single time God gives you a promise, so towards it. You see that? I believe this must have been where giving towards prophetic declaration came from. You know, in churches where the word of God is released, the pastor just declare a word. And somebody puts a hand in his pocket, quickly go to the altar and cast an offering. I believe it came from him. For every time God gave Abraham a promise, he gave God a seed. A seed of, Lord, I believe and I receive. Praise the Lord. Genesis 13, I divided into 2 groups. We call it lesson 1 from Genesis 13. That's what we take here. That is the central topic for Abraham. Then in the second service, we look at lesson 2 from Genesis 13. Now, if I choose to say we should expatiate it, we may still be on Genesis 13 for maybe another 4 weeks, which I don't want. I want us to keep advancing. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. But the first thing I want us to look at, Abraham's life is a blessing. Let me tell you the summary of what we read. In Genesis 13, he came out of Egypt. Coming out of Egypt, the Bible says he went to the south, where? To the place of covenant. You know, I showed us last week that Abraham stopped hearing the voice of God the moment he entered into Egypt. The last voice of God he heard was when he was at the south of Canaan. But when he got to Egypt, he didn't hear the voice of God again throughout. It was in Egypt he lied for the first time. It was in Egypt that he lost his wife. He took his wife. It was in Egypt he almost lost his life. And last week, I think it was at second service, I made us understand that when you move out of the will of God for your life, you will continue to advance in sin. The will of God, we have to want to cover up. So that's why lying, sinning against God will come in. You want to steal to maintain his status, that's where sin will come in. Abraham lost his wife. There is no one that lives in sin that does not suffer loss. And the last one, he almost lost his life, if not for the mercy of God. So he now came out. I love Abraham. I thank God for his life. Verse 1 will be where we'll take our first lesson. Show us verse 1. I want everyone to see it so that we can register it in our spirit. Look at verse 1. Verse 1. Genesis 13, verse 1. Now, Genesis 13, verse 1. And Abraham did what? Went up out of Egypt. Now, let's take our lesson. The way to Egypt is downward. Look at the Bible says he went up out. There is nobody that goes into sin that will not go down. The way of sin is not an upward way. It's not an onward way. It's a downward way. It is not an upward way at all. You cannot go into sin and remain in the plan of God. That's why sin is a downward way. Even if it looks as if the person living in sin is buying cars, is buying houses, is living big, it does not mean that that person is upward. That's why people don't understand the real definition for prosperity. You know what it means to prosper? Prosperity is this: having what it takes to fulfill the purpose of God in your life. You have a purpose of God over you, and you have what is required to fulfill that purpose. You are a prosperous person. Prosperity is not having money in the bank. There are people with huge sums of money in the bank that are not in the will of God. In the will of God, you have failed, because you will be known as nothing but a wretched sinner. So don't forget, we are looking at the life of Father Abraham. The way of sin is not an upward way, it's a downward way. You cannot go into sin and remain in the plan of God. People who are living in sin may look prosperous, but the truth is that they are drowning in the sight of God. They are drowning in the sight of God. Just like what we said in the previous lesson. I told you, I'm repeating it again, that when Abraham went to Egypt, look at what he lost. Everything that he had was taken. Though he had financial provision, the Bible says he was rich in cattle. It was in Egypt he got wealth. But with all the wealth that he had without God, it was nothing. He lost, he had to lie. Abraham had to lose his wife. If not that for the intervention of God's mercy, Abraham would have come, in fact, he wouldn't have come out of Egypt alive. But thank God for the mercy of God. So don't go into sin. The way of sin is a way of complete destruction. Anyone that will become anything meaningful in God should avoid the path of sin. Anyone that will become, you want to become a meaningful person in the hands of God, please, I beg you. You see, this God is a principle, but I've preached here before. I told you that our God is not a sentimental lover. In the will of God, you have failed, because you will be known as nothing but a wretched sinner. So don't forget, we are looking at the life of Father Abraham. The way of sin is not an upward way, it's a downward way. You cannot go into sin and remain in the plan of God. People who are living in sin may look prosperous, but the truth is that they are drowning in the sight of God. They are drowning in the sight of God. Just like what we said in the previous lesson, I told you, I'm repeating it again, that when Abraham went to Egypt, look at what he lost. Everything that he had was taken. Though he had financial provision. The Bible says he was rich in cattle. It was in Egypt he got wealth. But with all the wealth that he had without God, it was nothing. He had to lie. Abraham had to lose his wife. If not that for the intervention of God's mercy, Abraham would have come, he wouldn't have come out of Egypt alive. But thank God for the mercy of God. So don't go into sin. The way of sin is a way of complete destruction. Anyone that will become anything meaningful in God should avoid the path of sin. Anyone that will become, you want to become a meaningful person in the hands of God, please, I beg you. You see, this God is a principle, but I've preached here before. I told you that our God is not a sentimental lover. God created Adam and Eve. God created a good garden and planted them at the middle. God usually comes to visit them at the cool of the day, according to what the Bible shows us. But when man went against the plan of God, God said, don't eat this fruit. Look at this fruit. Make sure you don't eat it. Eat from every other fruit, but don't eat this one. The day man ate the fruit, God didn't care about any other thing. What did he do? He threw him out of the garden. God doesn't love based on sentiment. Some people say, I know she's not perfect. I know that she's not my type, but I don't have any other person, so let me just continue love. God is not, he doesn't love based on sentiment. God is a principled God. If you want to enjoy him, make sure you follow his principle. And his number one principle, like I will always tell you, is that you live in and walk in obedience. Obedience to what? Obedience to the written word of God. Adam came out of Egypt. Let's look at other scriptures to confirm the effect of sin in people's life. In Proverbs chapter 14 verse 34, it says righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. Righteousness is what exalts. But sin is a reproach. Sin is a disgrace. Yesterday morning I read 4 chapters when I was having my morning devotion. I read 1 Samuel 4, 1 Samuel 5, 1 Samuel 6, 1 Samuel 7. Now, when I was reading 1 Samuel, because before yesterday I read 1 Samuel 1 to 3 as my morning devotion. So when I was reading 1 Samuel chapter 4, I discovered something. The Bible says there was battle between Israel and the Philistines. It was a tough battle. The Israelites gathered soldiers, and the Bible says they went in the name of the Lord. But don't forget, as at that time the Bible says Israel had gone into idol worshiping. They forsook God. So they went, and the Philistines faced them and killed 4,000 soldiers among the Israelites. And Israel retreated. They quickly went back to their camp. Then somebody said, with the ark of God in our midst, we can't lose any battle. Go now to Israel. Go and bring the ark of God. So they went to bring the ark of God. The Bible says when they saw the ark of God, what happened? They made so much noise that the Bible says the ground began to shake. The ground started to shake. Then the Philistines got afraid. What happened? They said they have brought the ark of their God. The ark that destroyed Pharaoh and his soldiers has come into this camp. We are doomed. But the commander, the general of the Philistines said, brethren, even if we are going to die, let's fight with our last strength. Let's face it. Israel was jubilating, believing that since the ark is there, the Bible says the Philistines faced them, killed a lot of Israelites, that they have never lost men like that in any battle before, and captured the ark. I was now saying, but God, this is the covenant box that you dwell. You know what God told me? He said, scriptural principles won't work for sinners. He said, it is not scriptural principle that works, it is my presence. He said, when you tithe, you'll be prosperous. When you do this, it is the presence of God that makes it work. Once God's presence is no longer with you, no covenant will work for you again. Am I communicating? For you to know that nothing was wrong with the ark, they captured the ark and put the ark in the house of their god, Dagon. That night, they saw Dagon on the floor, face down. He had to prostrate for Jehovah, the King of Kings. The Bible says they said maybe it's a mistake. They took Dagon up again and made him to stand. The next day, the neck of Dagon and the right hand of Dagon was broken. And the Bible says everybody in that town created Adam and Eve. God created a good garden and planted them at the middle. God usually comes to visit them at the cool of the day, according to what the Bible shows us. But when man went against the plan of God, God said, don't eat this fruit. Look at this fruit. Make sure you don't eat it. Eat from every other fruit, but don't eat this one. The day man ate the fruit, God didn't care about any other thing. What did he do? He threw him out of the garden. God doesn't love based on sentiment. You know, some people say, I know she's not perfect. I know that she's not my type, but I don't have any other person. So let me just continue love. God is not, he doesn't love based on sentiment. God is a principled God. If you want to enjoy him, make sure you follow his principle. And his number one principle, like I always tell you, is that you live in and walk in obedience. Obedience to what? Obedience to the written word of God. Adam came out of Egypt. Let's look at other scriptures to confirm the effect of sin in people's life. In Proverbs chapter 14 verse 34, it says righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. Righteousness is what exalts. But sin is a reproach. Sin is a disgrace. Yesterday morning I read 4 chapters when I was having my morning devotion. I read 1 Samuel 4, 1 Samuel 5, 1 Samuel 6, 1 Samuel 7. Now, when I was reading 1 Samuel, because before yesterday I read 1 Samuel 1 to 3 as my morning devotion. So when I was reading 1 Samuel chapter 4, I discovered something. The Bible says there was battle between Israel and the Philistines. It was a tough battle. The Israelites gathered soldiers, and the Bible says they went in the name of the Lord. But don't forget, as at that time the Bible says Israel had gone into idol worshiping. They forsook God. So they went, and the Philistines faced them and killed 4,000 soldiers among the Israelites. And Israel retreated. They quickly went back to their camp. Then somebody said, with the ark of God in our midst, we can't lose any battle. Go now to Israel. Go and bring the ark of God. So they went to bring the ark of God. The Bible says when they saw the ark of God, what happened? They made so much noise that the Bible says the ground began to shake. The ground started to shake. Then the Philistines got afraid. What happened? They said they have brought the ark of their God. The ark that destroyed Pharaoh and his soldiers has come into this camp. We are doomed. But the commander, the general of the Philistines said, brethren, even if we are going to die, let's fight with our last strength. Let's face it. Israel was jubilating, believing that since the ark is there, the Bible says the Philistines faced them, killed a lot of Israelites, that they have never lost men like that in any battle before, and captured the ark. I was now saying, but God, this is the covenant box that you dwell. You know what God told me? He said, scriptural principles won't work for sinners. He said, it is not scriptural principle that works, it is my presence. He said, this is when you tithe, you'll be prosperous. When you do this, it is the presence of God that makes it work. Once God's presence is no longer with you, no covenant will work for you again. Am I communicating? For you to know that nothing was wrong with the ark, they captured the ark and put the ark in the house of their god, Dagon. That night, they saw Dagon on the floor, face down. He had to prostrate for Jehovah, the King of Kings. The Bible says they said maybe it's a mistake. They took Dagon up again and made him to stand. The next day, the neck of Dagon and the right hand of Dagon was broken. And the Bible says everybody in that house, God struck them with boil. Boil started coming out from everybody's body, and they said, this must be the God of the Israelites fighting. Let's look for what to do about this box. Every city they carried the box to, there was very good sumo or boil growing. My loved one, as they got to one city, all the men came to the entrance. No. This ark must not enter our town. So it means that God was in the ark when they brought it into the camp of the Israelites. But sin did not allow him to fight for them. The way of sin is a downward journey. That's why I always tell people, if you are saying that it's because I don't think I can control my desire for sex, that's why I just have to get somebody to be having sex with me as unscriptural sex. The pleasure of sex can last for how long? You should think about for how long will the pleasure of sex last. Then think of living life without the presence of God. If you are still alive, it's because maybe there is one mercy that is still working. Maybe Jesus is still pleading, saying, Lord, please give him or her one more chance. If you are still alive, I'm telling you. Because one thing with the devil, I always say, the devil is not strong, but he's an opportunist. He only capitalizes on the opening we ignorantly create. Look at that man of God I told you, Reverend Thompson told us in the conference. This man had been sleeping with ladies in church, nobody knew. But one of his I call them sex dogs, a sister in the choir, wanted to get married. And pastor said, don't worry, let's do it for the last time, please. When you marry, I can leave you for your husband. That was the night that the devil took him. And so that the girl would be disgraced. The girl didn't die. She wanted to leave the hotelier screaming. The cry they said she was crying was my wedding 2 weeks time. My wedding 2 weeks time. My wedding 2 weeks time. The devil is not, don't think the devil is finished. That's don't worry, I can. He will tell you there is a ripe orange at the extreme end of the tree. Look at it very, very. Go keep climbing. And he's with a sword at the base of the tree. So when Abraham was about to come out of Egypt, the Bible says he came up. If you are in Egypt, why not come out? So you can come up as well. It is at the top that God wants you to be, not at the base. Now we are still looking at the effect of sin. Look at Proverbs chapter 10 verse 2. Treasures of wickedness profits nothing, but righteousness delivereth from death. Proverbs chapter 10 verse 2. Thank you. Treasures of wickedness, the Bible says profits nothing, but righteousness delivereth from death. What can save man from death is when you are living right, when you are in right stand with God. Even if the force of darkness say I will take you, God will say no, this is my beloved. You can't do anything about her. Then look at what Isaiah said about the effect of sin in Genesis 32 verse 17. And the work of righteousness shall be what? Peace. Isaiah 32 verse 17. And the work of righteousness shall be peace. And the effect of righteousness shall be quietness and assurance forever. Can you see that? And the work of righteousness shall be peace, and the effect of righteousness, quietness and assurance. Which means you have a calm life. Nothing is steering the waters of your life for trouble. There will be peace when you are living right. I was at a function yesterday, and we have these friends. This guy, he came from London, and he sat beside me. He was taking trophy, and he told his other friend, he said, Pastor cannot understand the kind of enjoyment that we that takes trophy has. I was taking Schweppes, he was taking trophy, and it was a family function. I can't say I'm not going. So I was calm. I was taking my Schweppes. After like 30 minutes, I went to him. Uncle, I want to tell you something. I said, there is this peace that people that doesn't take this thing has that you can't understand. He said, I said, why not leave it for 1 year and see the kind of peace I'm talking about? If you can live trophy for 1 year, you will understand the kind of peace. You became calm. Righteousness is what guarantees what? Quietness, peace, and assurance. You know what assurance means? Boldness. You have nothing to hide. So you are not afraid. If the bus is going out, they say the tire just burst on the way, boom, you know, be saying, Lord of Jesus, Lord forgive me, in case I die now, in case that assurance will be there. For instance, somebody calls you up and says, hello, I now know your secret. And maybe network breaks the line. If you ask something to I won't be happy, your mind will be has he checked my mail? Or what is happening? Or you know, are you getting what I'm saying? There is this calmness and an assurance that people that walk in righteousness has. I'm not living in the fear of anything as you see me. Am I communicating?
Yes, sir.
That's why if you are here, you are still living a life of sin, come out so that you can come up. Come out so that what? You can come up. Because until you come out of sin, you can't come up. The Bible says, and Abraham went up out of Egypt. Hallelujah. Egypt is a road that leads downward. Do your best to avoid the path of sin, and you will see yourself become great in the hand of the Lord. God is taking you somewhere. Beloved, allow him to take you. We have seen what Isaiah 59:1-2 says, that the hands of the Lord is not shortened that I cannot see. Neither is his ears there that I cannot hear. But what's standing as a hindrance? Sin. And I was telling you before, sin always presents itself to be very, very attractive, very, very appealing, very compelling. It mounts pressure on you to come and have me. Come and have me. The reason is not because of anything, no. It's because he wants you to go down. Let's look at lesson 2. Second lesson. Abraham left Egypt on his own accord. Beloved, it is important that you realize that it is your responsibility. That we never saw in the Bible where the Bible says, and God brought Abraham out of Egypt. Was it written that way? Sure. And Abraham went out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had. Now, we never saw where the Bible says, and the Lord brought Abraham out of Egypt. We can't see that. Understand, beloved, it is important that you realize that it is your responsibility to lay off the sinful the sinful act distracting you from the purpose of God for your life. I come again. It is important that you realize that it is your responsibility to lay off the sinful act distracting you from the purpose of God for your life. It is not. There is no prayer of God take cigarette from me. God take a fornication from me. God take this stealing from me. God, there is no amount of that prayer that can be answered. It is not the responsibility of God to do that. You know, at times when we pray this prayer, we try to. I'm sorry, I use this language. It makes us to be seen as irresponsible. When somebody is saying, I'm trusting God that one day God will take alcohol from my mouth. Somebody said, I'm trusting God that one day God will take this anger from me. I'm trusting God that one day God will take this act of keeping malice from. God never takes sin from man. It is your responsibility to make the move that will make you free from sin. You know, everything we see documented in the Bible is documented for us to think and pray over. Hallelujah. God doesn't take wrong habits from people. Look at 2 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 1. God doesn't take wrong habits from people. Understand that one now. I know of people that are still struggling with bad habits till today. Pastor, they're praying for me that God should take this thing from me. You have to take responsibility. Beloved, I took responsibility too of so many things when I gave my life to Jesus. I told you I was 16 years old when I gave my life to Jesus. That was the time that youthful exuberance. That's the peak of it. That's the time that your body wants to move when you wake up in the morning. That's the time that you want to feel. There's this echo trying to tell you that you have to prove to them that you are current. I took responsibility of my life. The young man was talking to me. He said, "Sir, I'm struggling with masturbation." I said, I was into it too, as a youth that time. But I asked myself a question. I'm going to show you how to teach you how to make decisions. Now, will I be preaching to others? Because I know when God called me, I knew I had a call. When I got born again, I knew I had a call. And I have always wanted to be, listen, right from the time, I've always wanted to be original. So I told myself, will I still be preaching? That will be a hidden part of my life that nobody will know. Will I be preaching confidently and still be masturbating behind? I'll be fake. If not to you, to myself. And I took the decision. When you talk about someone that knows how to keep manage, I used to have first grade. I got so angry with my mom one time. I was angry with her. I kept managing with her and I was praying that I was not yet born again, that I should just die so that my mom can cry. Can you understand that kind of wicked heart? And that is when I hear my weakness. In those days, when she was struggling with her to do it, I just smile that, oh my Johnny here. And we purposely not eat in the house for 5 days. Because I'm angry at home. They will give me breakfast, I will kick it. They will give me lunch, I will kick it away. They will give me dinner, I will not eat. Because I'm angry. At first my mom will bet me before I begin to eat. But it got to a point, my mom started making me give up. If you die, I will cry for some time, I will forget that. So I tell it gets to maybe second or third day and the hunger starts beating me. I will please them off my cry. So they will say, you went close, oh yeah, what do you want? Now look at what the Bible says. Having therefore these promises, what promises? Glorious promise of God over your life. Dearly beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God. Now, can you see? The Bible says, since you have these promises, why not pray for grace? Why not tell the Lord to remove those things? No, He says, let us therefore do what? Cleanse ourselves. So the choice is yours, the choice is mine. But most times, some of us want to push it to God. Some of us even want to blame the devil. A man beat his wife to death. And when he was arrested, he said it's the devil. I have one on my phone. They caught a pastor in general overseer of a church in Lagos, very big church, where they caught him, he prints money. He said he has been doing that job since 1998. They caught him early this year. And if you see the notes, he prints 1,500. Do you know that this man still had the audacity to be preaching? They put handcuff on his hand. He said, I'm begging Nigerian government to forgive me. You see, those people that the Lord loves, that the Lord wants to use, they don't also want to use them. He said, for instance, David is a beloved of God, and he still had to sleep with another man's wife and kill another man's wife. But after that opportunity, after that incident, he repented, and God gave him another chance. I'm pleading to Nigerians that please, Nigerian government, forgive me to not happen again. When they do a whole land battery, they should begin to slap him and kick him, and he's still preaching. He still had the boldness to preach. And funny enough, it's a family business. Him, his wife, and children. You know, when I saw it, I showed my wife. I said, see, thank God for me and you. We don't look at people to run our race. But if you look at, big ministry, cars, buses. They are preaching almost in every channel. Somebody will get the stuff that God wants. You called us at the same time. Am I communicating? We don't use people. I say, can you? We will not tell. Do you think, I always tell you, do you think that we don't have tricks that we can use? We choose not to do it. Let me tell you, neighbor, the choice is yours. I laugh when I hear people struggling with sinful acts. At times, say they know that God will one day take those acts from them. Beloved, understand that it is your responsibility to live off sinful behavior. It is important that, like Abraham, you as a person should know how to make the right decision in life. Abraham came out of Egypt. I see you coming out. Yeah. Listen, your own Egypt may not even be sin. It may be a particular habit that make you not to flow with people. God told me, listen, I was praying this year, Lord, what is happening? My journey is still slow. This is not what you have shown me. He said, son, he drew my ears with his word. Son, I said, sir, you don't know how to relate. I'm telling you what God told me last month, you don't know how to relate. I said, oh God, I'm trying. He said, no. Okay, what do you? He said, do you know that I don't put people in people's lives? I said, Lord, you have told me before. I only put people on people's paths. Leaving you to relate with them, and that relationship will give back. He said, how many of your friends have you gone after to check? They are always the one, they are the one always coming to see you. I said, Lord, it's true, sir. How many of your friends have you called? You just face the wall. You don't know that I say my word to him that's alone. So I made up my mind that this anniversary that is coming up, this is 19. It's another year of my life in ministry. The next year of my life in ministry now, I want to relate very well. I want to change my relationship style. And it's true, I don't look for people. And I have this problem. I always tell myself, I don't miss people. Since it's a problem I have, I know I have. I pray for people, but once a person I notice that you no longer come to church, I try with you, I forget people easily. And if people live my life, I don't miss them. Maybe because God will raise others, I don't know. But God told me it's a bad attitude. Now I'm saying this not because I want to condemn myself before you, but to also make you feel that it's not only SIN that you need to work against. Sin, it's not only sin. There are some attitudes that you need to change. Somebody was asking me about the pastor friend of mine yesterday. Why is he still struggling? And I've told him before that the reason why he's struggling is he's too tight-fisted. He doesn't care about the need of anybody, including his own wife and children. Quickly, let's summarize with these 3 points. So not 3. We are going to be using alphabet instead of figures. We call it how to make decision. How to make a decision. Now, this part is A, B, and C. It will help you not only in the aspect of sin. If you want to make a decision, you can know how to as a child of God. For Abraham to have come out of Egypt, it was a decision, it was a choice he made. So every child of God is expected to know how to make a right decision. So let's look at A. Or we can even topic it how to make a right decision. Not how to make a decision. Let's add the word right to it. Are we set? A. Ask answer yourself the consequence. Ask and answer yourself of the consequence of not making a decision on issues confronting you. Ask and answer yourself of the consequence of not making a decision on issues confronting you. Now, you want to learn how to make the right decision. It's different from me here. The first thing to do is not just to make a decision. You don't rush into decision making. The first thing you must always do when issues confront you, ask and answer yourself the consequence of not making a decision. Okay, if I don't make a decision over this thing, over this issue confronting me, what do I stand to suffer? Does it pay you to allow such issue to continue? You ask yourself. Because see, there is nobody that can talk to you like you. And the best person that can tell you truth is you. If you choose not to hear what the Holy Spirit is saying, you can do it. You can choose to say, I don't want to listen to the Holy Ghost. But if you decide to tell yourself the truth, you can't deny yourself now. You should understand here that you not making a decision is a decision on its own. Now, and this aspect, I want to use it to talk to people that I call indecisive people. There are kinds of people that they always want to stand on the line. They don't want to make a decision they just want to stand on the line. You ask yourself, that's the first question you should ask. If I decide not to talk about this issue, will I suffer anything? If I decide not to ask about this, what do I stand to gain? So when you ask yourself of the consequence, you can even ask yourself of the benefit. Is it good for me not to speak? Is it good for me to allow this to continue? Because listen, you cannot remain in the will of God if you are an indecisive person. A person that cannot take a stand. For you to listen, there was a time in our area where I was living before. But there's this guy that used to terrorize the whole street. And he used to be a member of our church. I led him to Christ, brought him to this church. But the father said, they are Anglicans. St. Jesus Cathedral, the Great. He cannot allow his son. So his son decided to start following his right to church. I told him to follow, but he couldn't find his mates. So he went back to the world and started smoking in their hand. So when the father died, he became a nuisance in that street. Started bringing other talks. On this thing, everybody becomes careful. If you park your car on the street, you are careful, they could break your glass. If you cannot put your clothes on him. So this particular day, he came to the street and started making noise. Everybody on this street, it should not be where. He started cursing, rendering curses. I now called him, young man, why not calm down? If there's anything that is pushing you, ask yourself, do you have the results that match the noise you are making? So after talking to him, he became calm, he went upstairs. He now went to tell another area boy. That one was his most senior. And that one came to the street and said, what stupid pastor? And I was passing, is that the useless pastor that is talking nonsense? So I look up. Are you talking to me? He said, yes. I said, wait for me, I'm coming. Jesus is both a sheep and a lion. I said, mind you, if I get up there and I don't throw you downstairs, I'm not a pastor. He thought I was joking. I started advancing. As I climbed the upstairs, the guy fled. The devil is not a lion. He only roars about like a lion. He ran. Inside the house, I broke the door. I gave the door a kick. The door opened. He ran inside one room. And I thought you would wait. So the second day, I was coming from Bible study, met me. And I said, I was looking for you that day, you ran. It was written. That's why I'm sorry. Do you know that my decision ended the noise it was making on the street? You can't always hang on the line. Oh, child of God, indecisiveness is wrong. That sin that you are struggling with must, and if it will stop, it takes just a decision from you. Am I communicating? After you must have asked yourself an answer, let's look at B. Understand that when you do not carry out the outcome of your decision, it is the same as you not making any decision at all. I come again. Understand that when you do not carry out the outcome of your decision, it is the same as you not making a decision at all. You know what I call it? The first one they are calling decisive people. The second one I call inaction. You have concluded, but there's no action. Any thought you conclude that is not backed up with an action will not produce change. You don't keep your decision in your mind, you carry it out. I wrote here, put your conclusion to work. It is disastrous if you decide not to add action to the choices you are making. Inaction is a disaster waiting to happen. I took a decision several years ago, put it into action, that I was going to be born again. Thank God today. I took a decision, and backed it up with action, that yes, He has called me, I'm coming into ministry. Thank God today. I took a decision many years ago, the woman I'm going to get married to, even when my family members were against it. I put action to it because we courted for about 5 years old. We were afraid because my family didn't give approval. Her family was dicey. One day my uncle, I won't forget him, Uncle Innocent, came from the east and told me, please, when your fiancé bring a make I say, brother, it's my Igbo tradition. The first thing you should do, carry wine, go to the family and tell them your intention. I say, eh. So I took 2 bottles of wine, went to their family and told them my intention. And the brother saw it and said, I must take it to our father. Took it to the father. Then my uncle said again, Prince, I said, sir, go and take step by faith about your wedding. Since I was still living in my mother's house, when we took step by faith and they gave us dates, the first thing I did, so that nobody will change my date, I printed cards. I printed 500 cards. Because I've told God I want society wedding. Who are coming to that and since card has been printed, nobody can change date. I remember her brother almost changed the date, but they said they have printed card. We started sharing it. My card was ready 6 months before my wedding. Tell your neighbor for me, put action. Action. I can hear action. Say put action for every thought you have. I don't want to continue paying rent. You have decided, that's a decision in your mind. But if there is no action added to it, it will die a decision. So what's the first wrong thing that you must conquer? Indecisiveness. What's it? Number 2? Inaction. Yes. And I thought so many of our young brothers, as they are married. When Brother Biodun wanted to get married, there was nothing. Have you forgotten? Went ahead and chose date, and they will keep saying, I know I will not be disappointed. And today their wedding has gone past 1 year or 2 years. If they say they would have, maybe they didn't see food to eat at the reception. Is there any party that people see food to eat? No, it's true. Is there every party that people? It's not every party. So if you are trying to say I will satisfy everybody, you just deceive yourself. You Let's look at still and close. I have 8 more minutes. Now, we see in verse 3 and verse 4, Abraham got to the place of covenant. Now, let's look at the third point here. This is C point. Sorry. Understand that everything you want or will ever have access to in life hangs on the kind of decision you are making. Now, this one has to do now with mindset. We've talked about indecisiveness. We've talked about inaction. Now, this one has to do with what? Mindset. I come again, understand that everything you want or will ever have access to in life hangs on the kind of decision you are making. Let me say something here. I and my wife, after we got married, after some crisis, we got married, accommodation crisis, we got an accommodation somewhere here. They call that street Ifelodo Street. But our challenge is that when God gave us a car, sometimes, especially during dry season, we can drive into the street. But during rainy season, I have to park the vehicle at the 3rd street towards the other side, and I'll trek home. So when my children come back from school, a lunch box, school bags, I will stop at the junction here, take all their bags home, come out again to go and park the vehicle, then trek back home. So one day I was at home, the senator's wife called me. Hello, Pastor, where are you? I am at street number 3. I said, why not? He said, we got to the junction of your street. He said, vehicle doesn't enter. So the street, I told her to describe, she described. So I quickly ran to pick her from the 3rd street. So we trekked back together. That was when I started feeling irritated. You know, you don't throw up if you don't feel irritated. Am I communicating? And the beginning of change is irritation. The day you say, no, I can no longer bear this. That's the beginning of your change. I don't want to go there because that's why I'll be preaching to you 2nd day of the convention. I'm preaching on Tuesday. From insult to result. That's the topic of my message on Tuesday. I will teach you how to move from the realm of insult. Those days when my mother would give me food at my age that time, she would give me food and put the soup of insult on it. I will tell you more on Tuesday. I will teach you how to come out. So I got irritated that day, and I told my wife, we have to leave this place. My landlord begged me, but you know, he started with a mindset. I can't continue like this. That was when we saw the house at Adeniji Street. Good, just 2 tenants. That place was 4 flats. The one we saw, two flats, parking space, well gates. They put gates, can drive in. I told my wife I'm going for this house. I've told you the testimony now. There was no money to get out. But see, when God wants to change your life, it is not money He expects you to have first. It is the mindset of change that you must first possess. Am I communicating?
Yes, sir.
If that mindset is not there, let them give you 1 million, you'll still be who you are. So I went there, I saw the house. We went to check the price. They said 250 per annum. 2 years, 500. Agency and all things, making 780,000. I said, let's go and see the agents. We got there, the man, that's big, Baba B, and this one, can't go for the man's life. And he saw me, he said I should sit down. What do you do? I said, I am a pastor. He said, sorry, I don't give my house to pastors, to lawyers, and to accountants. These 3 people, they are very difficult to get money from them. So I stood up. He said, where are you going? I said, you have told me your mind. You don't give your house to pastors. So why am I waiting? He said, sit down. Are you not the one that is teaching faith? So I sat down. He said, total package 780. I stood up. He said, Pastor, why you always start? I said, see, pastors are giving you wrong impression about pastors. And I don't want to join them. I can't pay that amount. He said, how much can you afford? I said, rent 150. 1 year. And I'll pay agency. He said, no, my clients will not take that. I stood up. He said, Pastor, sit down. Okay, don't go. Don't stand up until I say you should stand up. Let me talk to my clients. So I left. Only for them to call me 3 or 4 days after. Our client said, we should give you the house. When are you making your payments? I said, I'll call you back. Lord, what do I do? He said, son, you have impacted lives. Call some of your children. So I called one of my beloved daughter, I called her my first one. She said, Papa, I'll be glad. She told her husband gave 50,000. He told another one sent 180,000, making 130. So I told them, okay, I'll be coming to deposit, make a deposit, right? You know I'm serious. They said, no, don't bring money yet. Come and sign some documents. And you need 2 guarantors. So I told the engineer, I said he will stand for me. Mr. Ledari said he will stand as the second one. As the engineer got to the house, saw the house, he says, I would like to sow into this. I would like to sow into this. This place is where I fix my pastor. I didn't talk to him. He just gave me 20,000 naira cash. She won't leave it again. And the agency came in short manner. Now, what if I never decided to leave? Don't forget the third point. Can we decide it together? 1, 2, and let's go. Understand that everything you want or will ever have access to in life hangs on the kind of decision you are making. Let me close with that. Do you now know how to make decisions? Or should I even say, do you now know that you need to make decisions? Yes. Because it is demonic to be indecisive, an indecisive person. Everybody will come and slap your wife or your family members will be talking to you. You have to come to a point. It has happened to me too before. You can't just keep quiet over everything. Except if keeping quiet is the right decision. Am I communicating?
Yes, sir.
That yes, this is the right thing to do now. Ignore them. But if keeping quiet is not the right decision at that time, I remember, please take this so that I can close this meeting. One of us took me to gate. He wanted to buy some things. And he took me in the Sienna car, space bus. And police stopped us on the way. Where is the papers? He was doing like this. I said, his papers supposed to be in your pocket or inside car. Where is the paper of the car? He said, sir, the trouser I remove in the morning. And we are around Agugu. Is there Agugu police station? They call that one. So I told the officer, please can we park? Let him take the next bike to bring the papers. I said, no, we are on patrol, you can't waste my time. Then what do you want us to do? He said, we should go to the station. I said, okay, no problem. Tell him. He got inside. Getting to the station, I said, okay, you quickly go and bring the vehicle document. I'll wait for you in the car. You know what the officer said? He said, look, calm down. He's talking to me, calm down. Go and sit down under that tree. Give me the car key. I said, sir, are you okay? Didn't I tell you when I was coming that I'm a reputable person? Don't think I don't know my right. The best thing for you to do is to take us to the counter, enter it, that you got us arrested. If you don't enter it, I'm not going under the tree. He said, then what will you do? I just took my phone. Hello, Barrister Udofo. The man just started screaming, Oga, he was calling the Oga, Oga, this man, they call police for me, they call lawyer for me, oh. This man, they call lawyer for me, oh. So that was what I said, this what happened, I said, I think the police will be with you now. The Oga now came, what happened? I said, we forgot the document of this vehicle. I've already told my man to quickly take a bike to go and bring the dog. Is it not? And he's now telling me to go and sit under the tree. Why? I told him his job. Let him go and enter it on the counter. I'm not afraid of him entering the case on the counter. He said, give this man. Let her make it a go. Now troublemaker. Leave her make it a go. You know, it would be wrong if I didn't make a decision at that point. That's why some people just be keeping quiet over everything. You don't keep quiet except if keeping quiet is the right decision. And I pray that the Lord will help you.